Could Chelsea be back in for Morgan Rogers in the summer? Could Tyrique Paez play his way into the conversation for the backup number 10? Tyrique George is garnering admirers just down the road, and Estevao shakes off his ailment to get back into the Brazil team. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sink, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And I woke up this morning and there's a couple of interesting little news stories to talk about today, man. International break can be really difficult for making content and ultimately can be a bit, we're all just desperate to get back into the football, aren't we? But fortunately, today, there's a couple of little rumblings in and across the news that I'm quite excited to talk about. But guys, before we get into it, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. And guys, at the time of recording, I am 3 subs away from hitting my 1,000 goal. Wow, I can't believe I'm so close. So if any of you guys could be those last few clicks that make it happen, I'd really appreciate it. Right, so we'll talk about the targets, the centre attacking midfield targets and potential ideas for the summer. So this has all come about because Yildiz, the young Juventus superstar, has posthumously decided to stay at Juventus and take a pay hike. So we've actually shown interest in Yildiz for a while now. I think we actually I don't know if we put a bid in, but we definitely expressed interest in the summer and it was kind of waved away. That seems to be completely put to bed now, according to the reports this morning. Anyway, so what that means is, if he was going to be an option for the centre attack. Now, I was under the impression that he was a winger, but I don't follow Juventus very closely. But either way, the stories that have come out since about Chelsea, now that Yildiz is not available, seem to be pertaining to the centre attacking position. So, the one that I'm really excited about, and I'll try not to get too excited because I got really excited about it in the summer and it didn't happen, was Morgan Rogers. I need to see Morgan Rogers in a Chelsea shirt for him to assist Palmer and to get that double cold celebration. That's not the only reason. Going way back now, like a few months ago, I did a pretty in-depth kind of tactical review of Morgan Rogers and his playing style, and he offers something that we don't really have in the Chelsea team. So he wouldn't be so much of a backup to Cole Palmer as he would be an option to play alongside him. He does play on the wing a lot for Aston Villa, and he offers something very different there, constantly drifting infield into that right half space pocket in particular. But we all know about Morgan Rogers, right? He is a phenomenal player, and I'd absolutely love to see him in a Chelsea shirt. He's going to be expensive. He's absolutely going to be expensive. So maybe you don't really see that kind of thing happening unless we get, 100 mil plus for someone like an Enzo Fernandez. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the summer's a very long time away. And if we don't get a transfer ban and we've got the opportunity to go back in for Morgan Rogers, I absolutely think we should. The other option that has been talked about, well, there was actually 2 other options. I will glaze over one quite quickly. It is, do we buy Facundo Buonanotte? Only time will tell. At the end of the day, if Facundo Buonanotte is in the squad right now, do you know what I mean? So he's got a better opportunity than anyone to prove to Chelsea that he deserves that spot. Do you know what I mean? He's done okay so far. He scored a couple of goals. He looks like he connects the play together pretty well. For me, he's kind of like a beta version of Cole Palmer, right? Like, not a beta, that sounds bad, but like, Cole Palmer 0.5, do you know what I mean? Similar sort of, left-footed centre attacking midfielder, likes to drift out wide, but obviously without all of that spark and magic that makes Cole Palmer one of the best players in the world. So Facundo Buonanotte essentially has it in his own hands. He's got the rest of the season. I wouldn't have thought we'd send him back in January. He's got the rest of the season to prove that he deserves a place in the squad. And if he can't do that, then the other idea that's being touted is integrating Tyrique George into the squad. So Tyrique George is out on loan at Strasbourg at the moment. There was a bit of, I don't really know what to call it, but he was a bit upset, right? Because when we brought in Tyrique George, he was told, I assume by the board or whatever, but the idea was at the time he was going to play in the Club World Cup team. We got him and Estevao basically at the same time, and initially there was a huge amount of excitement for both of them. Obviously, Estevao Willian has far exceeded the expectations of Tyrique George at the moment. Tyrique George is out in Strasbourg doing well. I'll get into his stats in a second, but he's definitely not as exciting for Chelsea fans and, football fans in general as Estevao Willian is looking right now. But I don't know if the plan was initially not to integrate him into the squad next season, but I guess we could have loaned him out again, or he might even have ended up getting sold. Do you know what I mean? So Tyrique George is doing pretty well for a young lad of his age out in Strasbourg at the moment. Liam Rosenior is doing a great job with all of the Chelsea players, to be fair. I really like, I was on the Blue Lounge the other night with Behind the Dugouts and Mo, obviously from the Blue Lounge, and Kai. You know, a couple of guys in the comments were asking about who the next manager could be, or, you know, if it's not Maresca. Obviously it's all just speculation, but Kai put the shout that Liam Rosenior actually might be being groomed over at Strasbourg in order to take the Chelsea job one day. I thought that was quite interesting. But anyway, I'm not talking about Liam Rosenior, I'm talking about Tyrique Paez. So Tyrique Paez had a reasonably slow start, but has made 7 appearances, right? And 3 of those now have been starts, so he's starting to be more and more trusted by the manager. He has only scored 1 goal, so he's not pumping away numbers, do you know what I mean? But he is slowly being more and more trusted, and there is a lot of good feeling about Tyrique Paez in Strasbourg at the moment, and it looks like he might well develop to be a strong part of their team. At the moment, to be completely honest, I don't see a huge amount of difference between like a Facundo Buonanotte and a Tyrique Paez. I feel like they're probably in and around the same level. Maybe that's disingenuous. Obviously, I've watched a bit of Facundo Buonanotte with Chelsea. I've seen very, very, very little of Tyrique Paez, just a few highlight reels and stuff. I don't watch Strasbourg games, but at the moment, there isn't enough there. You know, maybe I'll do a deep dive into the stats, actually. Who's the better baller? That maybe would be a good one, Paez versus Buonanotte. But Paez is a little bit younger than Buonanotte and ultimately has an opportunity to, you know, break his way into the first team at Strasbourg, which would be really good for his career. Buonanotte is only going to get game time really if other people aren't fit, and that is one of the things that could harm his development. So there's definitely a bonus Tyrique Paez has got over Buonanotte, is that Paez is much more likely to be able to play his way into the Strasbourg team, whereas Facundo Buonanotte, if Cole Palmer's fit, he's not getting anywhere near it. Do you know what I mean? Now, is Cole Palmer going to be fit ever again? That's the question. So maybe Facundo Buonanotte has an opportunity, but at the same time it's unlikely, isn't it? So that's you know, that's just it. Obviously the Kenan Yildiz stuff, with all of these news stories coming out really quickly, that kind of says that someone from the top is indicating that we're still looking for that centre attacking backup. And that makes sense because Buonanotte was only on a loan, right? So, and you know, we don't have anyone other than Cole Palmer. Enzo Fernandez is talking about getting sold, and he wasn't even the backup option for Cole Palmer anyway. He's just kind of been playing that role because there's not been a huge amount of choice. Estevao William might end up getting more time there, but, you know, for the most part, we need to kind of save him for that right wing spot, because other than that, we've only got Pedro Neto. If we want to keep that balance of the inverted wingers, you know, the way that Maresca seems to like it. So let me know what you think about it in the comments, guys. Do you think Buonanotte's got what it takes to make it in a Chelsea shirt? Do you think Tyrique Paez should be given a chance next season? Or do you think we should throw the bag at Morgan Rogers? I'm not going to lie to you. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. So I mentioned Estevao a minute ago, and we'll continue with that. Good news, everyone. Estevao has shaken off his flu-y ailment and is back in the Brazil squad training for their next game, which is awesome, right? That's really, really cool, because obviously it wasn't so much of a worry, and I didn't report on it in itself because it was only the flu, but you know, at the end of the day, it was a little bit worrying. He pulled out of the Brazil squad. He'd obviously stayed with them, but he's feeling better and he's back training in the squad. So you know, it's almost nailed on that we're going to see him against Nottingham Forest at this point, isn't it? Especially after his performance at Liverpool and the fact that he scored a brace with Brazil in his last game. Who, you know, if he can carry on that level of form, then that's only going to be really good for Chelsea. So, you know, feeling good about Estevao. Very much likely expect him to be playing in the Nottingham Forest game. We're doing a match preview on the Blue Lounge on Friday night stream, so come and check that out, and I will obviously be releasing my match preview with my predicted lineup as well. So I'm going to wrap up today's video with a bit of news about Tyrique George. So good news first, Tyrique George scored for the England under-21s. Other good news, Jamie Gittins assisted him. Yay! Chelsea players are doing good. Oh, I love that, man. I love that. So yeah, Tyrique George is having a good time with the England team and obviously just scored a goal, which is really big for him. And he is drawing attention from our neighbours down the road in West Ham. Now, obviously, Fulham were basically, it just fell apart right at the last minute, but Fulham were going to pay £22 million for Tyrique George, and West Ham are looking at that and being like, interesting. Now, the article I read not sure that I 100%, can back this, because it said that they were considering Tyreek George, because of their recent propensity for aging strikers, and that's something that they want to end. Do you know what I mean? They want to stop buying old strikers and get some youth in there. Now, what that says is Tyreek George is a striker, and it's like, is he a striker? To be fair, I don't even know where he played for England, actually. So Tyreek George scored the only goal in that game. I've just had a quick look to see if I could see what position he was playing, but no, I couldn't see it. So I assume he was playing as a winger, because I think there are other options for the under-21s. But at the same time, it's like, do West Ham see Tyreek George as a striker? I hope not, because that means Maresca's probably going to start seeing Tyreek George more as a striker, and I just don't want to see him play striker for us anymore. But at the end of the day, he has scored for us once this season already. He's just scored for the under-21s. Maybe that's actually going to raise his stock. So 22 mil is still going to be great money for Tyreek George, because he was an academy product, so that's book profit, and Chelsea love some book profit, don't they? But I think a move to somewhere like a West Ham would be good. It feels very much the same as the Fulham game, right? I think, the West Ham fans would like him. I think he'll probably get opportunities to play. West Ham definitely some holes in their squad at the moment, and maybe Tyreek George can seize an opportunity there. I do think that we'll sell him. Do you know what I mean? It just feels reasonably nailed on. I reported yesterday about interviewing Nazar Kinsella did with BBC. And one of the things I didn't talk about yesterday was them talking about the UEFA stuff. And, we are still going to need to sell. Essentially, it looks like going forward, Chelsea are still going to need to sell some players. Maybe that's why we're seeing the Enzo Fernandez stuff. That aside, Tyreek George for 22, maybe 25 mil. Pure book profit, man. That's just got almost definitely going to happen at this point, isn't it? Mark Gu maybe is one that I could see being sold as well, in order to make, because if we sell Mark Gu for 20, 30 mil, then that's, again, it's not book profit, but we only paid 5 mil for him, so it's going to be a huge amount of profit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Chelsea offloading more players a la Mark Gu in the future, to try and get us out of our financial hole that we're in at the moment. Either way, I do want Tyreek George to do well, don't get me wrong. My issues with Tyreek George are almost based entirely on where the manager's been playing him. He played a reasonable amount for us last season and was a good servant 100%, but he just hasn't got the chops to play that striker position. And that's where we keep seeing him. And when we see him there, he just kind of looks invisible. Do you know what I mean? He just kind of looks invisible. So it's not a dig at Tyreek George individually. I just don't think he's good at playing the position he's being asked to play. So I would only hope that if Tyreek George does get the move, which would be good for Chelsea because of the money, and it'd be good for him because he's going to get more playing time, I hope that he gets to go and play in his rightful position somewhere. And, do you remember with Ruben Loftus-Cheek? Everyone was like, oh, he could be a striker. And it's like, no, he's a midfielder. Let the boy play midfield. It's one of those, isn't it? I guess, don't get me wrong, I know players can be versatile and change position and stuff. But based on what we've seen right now, I don't really see Tyreek George as a striking option. So let me know what you think about that one in the comments, guys. Do you think Tyreek George to West Ham is a good option? Do you think Fulham will come back in for him? It'll be interesting, but it seems that he's garnering suitors, and with scoring for Chelsea and scoring for England, do you know what I mean? Maybe his value is actually going to go up, so it might even work out better for us in the long run. Right, guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap the video up there. Like I said, man, I'm at the time of recording, 3 subs. I'm on 997 subs. I'm 3 subs away from 1,000. If you can be the one that makes that 1,000 happen, oh, mate, I'll be so grateful. I'll be so grateful. Thank you all very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.